So we've got something kind of interesting to talk about here. Now, we've been talking about this for a while now because it's kind of been apparent that Trump has kind of been in trouble. And there have been more polls that have come out. There were surveys conducted by the New York Times and Siena College, which show Trump trailing Joe Biden by double digits. In Michigan, that's down 11 or Biden plus 11. Wisconsin is Biden plus 11. And Pennsylvania is Biden plus 10. And he's winning North Carolina by plus 9. And Arizona, Biden is up plus 7. And Florida, Biden is plus 6. Okay. So, and then there's a bunch more polls showing that, Biden's ahead of Trump in Ohio, which basically, to my understanding, if a Republican loses Ohio, they have zero chance of winning the election. In fact, I don't think there's ever been a Republican winner without Ohio, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, that they didn't get other stuff. But this is pretty crucial, and if he can pull Ohio over, that would be pretty crazy. Now, what I wanted to do was basically go back and look at the old polls at this time. It's 6/25, so June 25th, and so here, the closest polls that we get, Clinton was up in the single digits, some of them high single digits, some of them even here getting up to plus 10. This is in Michigan, but then Trump ended up besting her by 0.3%. You've also got to remember the margins that Trump won a lot of these states in, like especially the Rust Belt states. They were extremely small, very, very small numbers. Like this is plus zero point 0.7. Like these are ridiculous, you know. These are ridiculously, tiny margins that he won by. But nonetheless, it's still really interesting to see like a state like Wisconsin, which completely held. Totally, I don't really know what's wrong with Wisconsin polling because they seem to have the same issue in the Democratic primary in 2016. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. But all of these are blue. Plus, at this time, then, Clinton was like plus 5, plus 8, plus 9. So that's big numbers. If we take a look here at Ohio, this one is the most, sort of split. Trump was winning a lot of these. And he obviously destroyed Hillary in Ohio by winning by 8.1 points. Um, so, here, this one is Florida. Florida, Trump ended up winning by plus 1. He ended up winning by 1.2. Trump was favored in this polling. So it's really a little bit interesting to see whether or not Trump is going to end up winning or not. Now, the leads that Biden has are really good. Now, I really personally struggle quite heavily to match up the polling numbers from then and now because I feel like our landscape is just so different now than then, right? Back then, Trump hadn't become president yet, so he could just yap, yap, yap and talk all he wants. Because that's all Trump does. Is all he does is talk. He never does anything. So he just likes to yap and just talk nonstop. And so he was able to do that in 2016 with no record or anything to be held accountable for in elected office. But this time around, I think that there's going to be a lot of anti-Trump energy after the George Floyd protests and his response, as well as, the Roney and his response. So we just saw his comments recently about how he was telling them to slow down testing, which is basically, should be an international crime. But I don't see Trump being able to win this, although, I don't know, maybe there's some silent numbers for him, or I don't know, you always have to take some percentage points. It's hard for me to believe that Biden isn't able to pick off, you know, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And then he can also maybe even pick off something like Arizona, North Carolina, or Florida. Those are all really massive pickups. Now, is he actually going to be, is Biden going to be able to pick those up? I don't know. But the strategy from Biden right now is basically don't say anything. I don't think Biden has really done anything. He's pretty much broken a record for the easiest walk to the presidency in all of history. And so he didn't have to do anything but just sit there and jerk off, and he's going to walk his way to the presidency pretty much. He just lets Trump implode, just lets people hate Trump, and so they come out to vote for him. Also think that there's going to be quite a few Republicans who weren't down to vote for Hillary Clinton who are going to be down to vote for Joe Biden because he is a Republican. He is one of them. Hillary Clinton was very, antagonistic with Republicans. Joe Biden is more like, hey, let me give you a hand job type of thing. So I think that this is going to be a tough one for Trump. And on top of that, the only chance Trump I figured would have at this point in time was some sort of a big bounce back post Roni. And we're starting to get into that zone. Like I got a haircut, right? Because the hair salon's opened up. The haircut place is opened up. So, you go to the door, they interrogate you, and then there's a bunch of rules in place. But as you're seeing in the news, numbers are spiking. So we're going to see whether or not it's really going to be successful or if there's going to be this really big bounce back that helps Trump or not. But I find it hard to believe, especially if a second wave hits, like right before the election hits. I have trouble seeing this big bounce back that I think that Trump would need to be able to win. So I think he's pretty much in trouble, honestly. I don't see how he's going to be able to make this. And also, honestly, with all of these national sort of controversies and emergencies and stuff like that, I think Trump is overall just proven how incompetent he is. He's just incredibly, I think incompetent is the best way to describe him, and I would say he's definitely not very savvy or witty in his reactions to things and his responses to things. And I'm not even really sure what his strategy is. That sometimes he's trying to like pull and pick, because it's like, okay, are you trying to pull some of the African American vote your way by saying that Kaepernick should be picked up by a team in the Step Act, or are you not trying to do that? It's really confusing what he's even trying to do. Honestly, I'm really confused. But also you got to remember the senior vote is probably going to swing in his direction, which if it does, it's pretty much in the direction of Biden. That is, sorry, pretty much a wrap at that point. So, yeah, I think Trump is in trouble, man. If Trump actually pulls off this win, I will legitimately be shocked. But hey, I'm waiting here. I'm not for sure saying that Trump is going to lose. That's just my feeling right now. That anti-Trump energy is so strong. I feel like come election time, come November, I feel like people aren't going to forget George Floyd. I feel like they're not going to forget the Roni. I feel like they're not going to forget any of that stuff. And then Joe Biden hasn't said anything, so nobody has any reason to basically be like, oh, I hate both Joe Biden and Trump. Joe Biden is doing better with double haters than Hillary Clinton was last time. The double hater vote demographic is going to help him. So, yeah, I don't know. That's what I feel like is going on. Let me know what you think down below.